Hello, amazing people worldwide. My name is Midnight in Maine, also known as Rusty Shackelford, also known as that fella in your neighborhood that is sending flames from a bonfire sky high. In the co-pilot's chair is world-renowned author, artist, and musician Emmanuel Thompson, also known as Tepes.
Nice to meet y'all again in this wonderful reboot. Radio Free New England. We had our first story, which is having to do with Russia-Ukraine conflict, supposedly a assassination attempt on the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. Take it away, Midnight.
As you can see here, well, that ain't video of it. I don't think it even has video of it in the article. Overnight, there was a small event that took place, which was a drone attack on the Kremlin. Nobody really knows what happened, but as you can see here, something probably did. Now, we don't really know what it was. Vladimir Putin's, a guy who blew up apartment buildings throughout his own country so that he could launch a conflict to secure power. The Ukrainians are deeply upset that our intelligence assessment, which was leaked by Jack the Dripper, a 20-something-year-old Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, we basically said that the Ukrainians don't stand a chance and that they really probably are not going to take back any significant territory in this offensive. So they might have been upset and wanted to show us that they're still in the game. Maybe Joey just signed off on a piece of paperwork, but either way, it would appear that something happened in Moscow that was targeted at Vladimir Putin. Or that Putin did it to himself. Either
Could be easily a false flag,
way. Well, exactly. And Putin's known for the false flag. That's why he got along so well with George W. Bush, because, as we all know, Bush had his own
Yeah,
false flags that he was a big
really
fan
big
of.
ones. Ones that are so big, you can start dancing just thinking about it.
The Ukrainians denied being involved. The United States obviously denied being involved. And former President and Prime Minister of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, said that they should nuke Kiev over it. And the general mood seems to be that Zelensky now needs to die. So that's our first story right there. Well, Zelensky was talking about it the other day, that he's a casualty of the conflict as well. Because he's had to suffer in things like low light conditions with a high workload, so he has to wear glasses now.
Wow, what a hero. What an American hero, just like the Mujahideen were, I sure expect that Ukraine will be a loving ally for many years to come.
I'm sure they're gonna love us when this is all over and done with. That was the most inspiring moment of Ronald Reagan's time in office, when he met with those Mujahideen fighters and heard their absolutely heartfelt tales of resistance against tyranny. I'm sure glad that worked out well for us.
Swimmingly. Ooh. Well, obvious things aside, how do you feel that, let's be honest here, let's be out of the joke mode for a second. We've been sending America's legacy of 50 cal machine guns en masse to Ukraine. We have been sending them billions of dollars worth of weaponry. How the fuck do we see this playing out once this conflict ends in either direction? Say, best case scenario, Ukraine repels this invasion. What is the devastated generation of Ukrainians going to do with all these heavily armed ammunitions? What are they going to do? Are they going to counter invade Russia? Are they going to get some territory somewhere else? Like, how do we expect as Americans this to turn out in our favor?
Well, and your other problem is to look back, a measly 70 or 80 years into Ukrainian history. Um, and clearly there are still significant ethnic divides in the country. And not just talking, people who identify as Ukrainian and people who identify as Russian. In the what was it, Transcarpathia region, Viktor Orban, the president of Hungary, gave pretty much every ethnic Hungarian that lives in that region Hungarian citizenship so that they would not be subject to the Ukrainian military draft, which heavily targeted minority groups in the country. Um, the sordid history with the Polish and, the city that 75 years ago was called Lwow, that's now called Lviv. I wonder where that like 200,000 people that lived there, where they went. Um, so I would assume that you will see mass outbreaks of ethnic violence.
I
But
love it.
by and large, I mean, there are UN reports that have been put out already with the loss of young men that Ukraine has suffered already in the conflict as of like 2 or 3 months ago that they acknowledge, the Ukrainians acknowledge. This isn't, the actual numbers. The Ukrainian people are going to cease to exist. Like they're just not going to exist. They're going to be like the Native American, which by the way is the way that the US government likes people.
You mean completely depend on their government?
Completely dependent, absolutely destroyed. I mean, realistically, if you want to see like a future for Ukraine, what I sadly envision is a big Native American reservation that's been armed with javelin missiles and 50 caliber machine guns. It's really a bleak one. And you're correct in your assessment that, like, the Mujahideen, they'll come to fucking hate us.
I think that their natural course of action should be to hate us. We funded, and they're playing a game that they never. I mean, they probably anticipated Russia to have some sort of aggression in them eventually, but they never anticipated that one, America is going to be flying Ukraine flags at your local pet sanctuary.
I don't think a single business in my town flies a Ukraine flag. I see them on houses occasionally, but I don't believe I've seen one on a business thus far.
You want to know the biggest irony? Every house I've seen with a pride flag usually has a Ukraine flag.
Well, I mean, they treat them so well over there. Like, seriously, I mean, in this country, in this house, we believe that love is love, that no human is undocumented, that dogs can serve in the armed forces too. Oh, believe me.
And karate is the only form of legitimate martial arts.
And Slava is the Ukrainian. Do you think that these people really like even understand like that they're saying glory to Ukraine? Do they even know what the word means? Slava Ukraini, or
well, think about it
words?
like this: at midnight, the average American is taught that ethnic pride is a sin unless you are a shade darker or you look different enough.
Or if you're in the Azov battalion boiling a human head in a pot.
Exactly. So this is going to cause a dramatic shift in the American conscious because we're going to be seeing people go Slava Ukraini. Then they're going to be asked, what does that mean? And they're going to be like, I don't know. But eventually, because, it's not like these Ukrainians are going to be like quiet. They're going to have some sort of voice if they're all going to be moving in mass to this country and integrating. And the thing that's going to be the biggest hurdle for their eventual integration is going to be the question of, okay, for the last 20 years in America, since the end of the civil rights movement, let's just say that, we've been drilling into the average northerner person's head The race isn't real. Ethnicity isn't real. And
Yeah, that is a very like it's an interesting one because there are certain groups that we give a pass to. Like why are the Irish, look at our president, who's not Irish by the way, and Biden is not an Irish name. Um
no shit.
Joey's allowed to have an ethnicity, but the average American who's say like German, people don't talk about this, but a lot of these German immigrants that came here from the 1890s onward, and even a little bit before that, they were Volga Germans. They were people who were told by Catherine the Great to move to Russia because the Russians just couldn't figure out how to irrigate their fields or rotate crops. Um, and then gradually they had, their rights and privileges stripped away, so they came to the United States and moved to the far-flung parts of what became, this great nation. Places like
the Midwest.
Dakotas, uh, yeah, Montana. A lot of them moved to California. Some of them settled in remote regions of Canada. Uh, those people aren't allowed to have an ethnic identity, but the Irish are, and the Italians kind of are. I mean, Jesus Christ, the Italians had a fascist dictatorship.
They got the Sopranos. What are you talking about? Of course they did.
But yeah, it's a very interesting point how we let some people, other people really aren't allowed to have it, and meanwhile we're sitting there and supporting an ethnic conflict in Eastern Europe, and that's essentially what it boils down to. I mean, the Ukrainians openly espouse now that every Russian man, woman, and child has to suffer uh, because of the actions that we in the United States seem to view as the actions of a madman who's peeing and shitting himself from the cancer drugs that he's on.
Hold
So,
on. Let's
like,
talk. That's overlooking the fact that the average American also thinks that the Russia conflict is a motherfucking Marvel movie, and Putin is Thanos, and America is the Avengers, and Zelensky, he's Captain Marvel.
well, you're telling me that's not what it's like? Listen, I've seen a lot of movies in my day. So like I think I'm an expert on this. When you put a suppressor on a handgun, it goes pew pew.
Dude, if you put a suppressor on a shotgun, it's going to go.
Yeah, exactly. So many people really just don't know what they're talking about. They don't.
On a question that we do know something about, where do you? I I don't think you answered this, or if you did, I don't know if I know you elaborated on it, but where do you think the American conscience is heading once this introduced? Now, since we're taking sides in ethnic conflicts, and we say some races are naturally good and some are not, because that's what you do when you take sides in ethnic conflict. So, if that's the case, what is going to happen to the American identity in give it 5 years, 10 years, when you have all these Ukrainians? They know they're Ukrainian. They know they're eventually, hopefully, they'll consider themselves Ukrainian American. But what the fuck is that going to mean? Is that going to make them a new minority? Like, just like how in Scandinavia they treat Eastern Europeans like they're a minority. I mean, they are a minority. They're going to be definitely treated different.
What I would have to ask you is there even something that could be isolated as an American identity right now? Um, we have half of the country almost every time that their side does not win a presidential election that openly does not like the country. I mean, and it's something. It really seemed to start after Ronald Reagan, because as far as I understand the polling under him, a majority of Democrats were still proud to be Americans, even though the Gipper got into office. But like ever since then, Bush wins, and they overwhelmingly are not proud to be Americans. Or it was really a gradual slide, but
I think it goes back to this line that someone much smarter than me once said, where half of America thinks that America was a great country until recently, and that needs to change. And the other half of America thinks this was a shit country until recently, and that needs to
yeah, I
change.
mean, I just would say there really is no single American identity. We already see it with a lot of groups that we import into the United States that they don't have an identity. Like they don't even have the identity of their forebearers. They don't adopt an American identity. Really, the American identity at this point is just nihilism, by and large.
I think that's more accurate than I would like to believe. To be honest, where nihilism has become the opium of the masses for the American mass
Yeah.
media. Nihilism, and at the very best, quote unquote, at least
Well,
cheerful nihilism.
speaking of nihilism in the United States, I've got another one to pull up, my friend. Hell in Paradise. This is from the Daily Mail. How Epstein's pedophile island, complete with underground layers, a creepy temple, and 10-person shower for orgies, will be transformed into a 5-star luxury resort after billionaire paid $60 million for the twisted Caribbean hideaway. Um, so here's a little picture of the little pedophile island, Little St. James. There's the temple on it. They're showing right there. That's Virginia Guffrey, I believe. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's Sarah Kellen and good old Jeffy getting one of those back rubs that he enjoyed so much. So the FBI apparently netted $60 million out of this deal, which is awesome. I mean, I know that they're going to use that to monitor a few more Catholic churches that do mass in Latin. I mean, I hope that they do good stuff with that. Because well, as far as we know, there are no victims of abuse, and nobody was abused at all by anyone. Because I guess Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked people to no one, so there she is. A lovely looking English lady. Yeah, yeah, that's one. And we got a real fucking spicy angle on this. But E-Man, if you have anything to say.
Oh, I have plenty. So besides the banality of just common evil, this is just great evil. Like this is some funny stuff. Like this is what I mean when I say to others, like, if you think that things can never get worse, you're just a fool. Like there's no bottom of the barrel. But as I was saying, the average American can only fathom evil in very linear terms. And it's very unfortunate because the truth is there is no limit to human creativity, and there's no limit to human depravity. And that's where we gotta just step it up as a species and a society. We have to come to grips with the fact that we have darker corners of our minds than we are freely admitting. And and by doing so, we gotta persecute these people, man. Like we have to, like the whole bullshit about Batman. Reason I fucking hate Batman and love the Punisher is because Batman pleads with evil. He negotiates with evil. The Joker kills a fucking nursery of babies. He's going, I gotta God, cure this guy. Like, no, that's not what you do when you see evil. And evil has to be rooted out. It has to be not tortured, but it has to be punished at the very least.
Well, and that's exactly what the brave Ukrainians did with this drone strike on the Kremlin. I mean, they went to where evil is. They did not negotiate, and they tried to take it right out. It was a righteous strike, man.
Well, here's the issue with that. You like when I say definitely evil, like if you're going to say that the leader of Russia is evil, you're going to have to go the full 9 yards. All our great leaders are supposedly evil because they're not.
Well, look at Winston Churchill. I mean, the guy killed what? Close to like 60 million. No, I'm sorry. That's a gross overestimate. But he gave millions of people in India died during the Second World War because he fucking redirected their food supply. It was basically Great Famine 2.0, but worse.
And there's no one that's going to plead or talk about the great sins that we have committed against any person that doesn't have a voice in this country already.
So most of the
So
country.
most of
I
the stuff.
mean, I don't know what we were saying, but I do have a sweet angle to shift it over to. This is coming straight from the most reliable name in news, Infowars.com. According to the Wall Street Journal, former Israeli Prime Minister and head of Israeli military intelligence, that's right, the Mossad, my friends, Ehud Barak, visited Jeffrey Epstein's apartment monthly. And yeah, that he did. Apparently, he visited pretty much monthly from the years 2013 to 2017. He just liked to drop by, hang out with him, get a few back rubs like we saw in that previous one. He's a big fan of the Jeffrey Epstein back rub. I mean, and he's such a jolly looking fella too. Nothing like this bad guy over here. Oh
Yeah,
no.
when I visit my friends in their millionaire deluxe rape caverns, I know for a fact.
Whoa, this was a rape mansion in Midtown Manhattan, okay? We're not all like Ben Franklin going down in the rape cabins.
Okay, we're right. We're not all like Thomas Jefferson. We don't have the rape cabin just ready to go.
Meant cavern, but listen, okay? He wasn't like that. He was practically married to that young slave girl.
He didn't do nothing. He's a good boy.
He was a good boy, I swear.
I seen him in Sunday school. He knew all the Bible books. He knew all
I'm
the.
sure. Well, no. Actually, specifically with Thomas Jefferson, he knew all the Bible verses except for the ones he cut out because he didn't believe them.
Interesting.
Yeah, read about that, the Jefferson Bible. I had a lot of respect for him before I found out he don't believe in miracles.
Yeah, because he knew it would be a miracle if he freed his slaves.
Jesus fucking Christ. Thomas Jefferson was a fairly good guy for a slave owner. He just liked to smoke opium, man.
For a slave owner. I mean,
for a slave owner, shit, man. When you hold him up to the gold standard of General Robert E. Lee, probably the nicest slave owner there ever was.
Robert E. Lee or George Washington, I think, were probably the superior slave owner. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's tough.
How do you rank this? I don't know. I mean,
I really don't know because they both were effectively part of the same family. I think it was Lee was related to either Martha Washington or Washington's sister, because Washington allegedly didn't have any kids, but there is, the whole black family that tests genetically positive for him. But
wait, what?
Oh yeah, dude. No. Martha Washington was incapable of having children. And for years, it was recorded historically as George Washington was incapable of having children.
Washington, Marquise Mark Washington, she got legs like an eagle, ready to spread.
No, but Washington had black kids.
Dude, what if I'm the descendant of one of them? You never know. You never know.
You just never know. You got to go get yourself tested, man.
So, yeah, so they could sterilize me to end the Washington genes? I don't think so.
All right, that's valid. That's valid. It would make sense why you care so much about human liberty and freedom and such.
That's incredible, dude. I didn't know.
You didn't know.
Dude, they just walking around with
Dude, it's all this stuff that they don't teach you in school. Like, they don't want you to know about the Black Washingtons for some reason.
Well, because they don't want to imply that they raped their slaves. But, like, come on. As a human being.
At least in Thomas Jefferson's case, my understanding of it was more like he had an affair but also if you own a person,
It's not really much choice
it's
in
not
that.
really like a choice thing. So I
Oh
I
boy,
guess, but I do think that it's a more complicated subject than that. I
it
mean, look,
is. But at the same
we'll,
time,
we'll never be able to know if Tariq Nasheed's assertion is correct and all these people were buck breaking.
we
There'll
can't.
be no offspring from buck breaking.
Yeah, we can't ever know this. Give me 1 second. We'll edit this in post. I'm just walking. Take at hand. Yeah, there. I guess the only saving grace of the buck breaking theory is that
But there's no offspring generated by it. I mean, there's also no written accounts of it. No written accounts of it post-slavery until Tariq Nasheed's
invented the
Assassin's
theorem.
Creed style rediscovery of what happened to his
Dude,
ancestors.
he commissioned gay porn to make that fucking
Are
movie.
you fucking kidding me?
He commissioned gay porn, discovered and rediscovered like Victorian era, so not even during slavery, gay porn. He's he uh he really
Oh,
wants that to be
yep.
true. He really
I'm
wants
gonna
that.
need a drink after that sentence.
He really wants buck breaking to be true, and I don't know why. I think I know why, but I wish I didn't know why. You know what I mean?
All right. Yep, I do. Um, so we touched upon, the
The
people
Black
that I'm
Washington.
sure will not be going back to Little St. James when it's a private resort. Uh, E-Man, how do you feel that the
American
U.S.
response method.
Armed Forces are doing right now?
Well, I have a military family history, and I in some days of my life, there a different time, different body. I wanted to enlist myself, and I have to say, just from a strict liberty standpoint, strictly from a liberty standpoint, I think it's criminal that the special forces are the only ones able to opt out of receiving the vaccine. And this is not me saying no one in the world should be having an experimental vaccine because they're scared and they want to be safe. Like that's not what I'm saying. Uh, I this is a serious thing. This is a serious thing, and I feel like our childhoods were predisposed to making us not take the military seriously and not take being not trusting the government seriously. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Just like rest in peace, John McAfee said, good thing you're gonna really stay inside because the government told you to. Thank God they didn't tell you to suck a dick.
I don't know why he hung himself in a jail cell with the cameras off.
Yeah, but yeah, it's really. I feel like we're not going to get the best and brightest in our armed forces right now because war is seen as a business. It's not something that we are trying to win or end as quickly as possible. It's something we're trying to prolong and make money off of every single aspect of it.
I mean, I agree. Like, there's certainly a point where you sit there and you look at the chain of events that we saw happen that we don't even remember. 9/11, then we go into Iraq. Then, maybe you start having your first memories around this time that we launch a new theater of the conflict, which is Afghanistan. And no, we went into Afghanistan first. Well, I fucked that up all. I was a young child at the time. But no, I mean, seriously, you watch that, and I remember as a kid, I mean, I was gung ho behind the U.S.
I was
military.
feverishly patriotic. I was like, kill them
Exactly.
all.
And then you sit there and, you watch like the regime change and Barack Obama comes in, who was supposed to close Guantanamo Bay and get our troops out of these pointless conflicts. Instead, you
He's hailed as a
weren't,
messiah.
and we're killing, hundreds of civilians per drone strike. And at the time, it wasn't reported, but Barack Obama sat there and watched every single one of those drone strikes. He made the call. Like, ooh, he's in a crowded restaurant, drop the bomb. And you start seeing, these conflicts expand into, Africa, and the next thing you know, we're back in Somalia again, and we got all this bullshit going. We're dropping bombs on fucking Yemen for the Saudis, which, by the way, is the worst humanitarian catastrophe on the planet, like a decade fucking running now. It's astonishing, and that I think is what led to a drop in respect for our military. But you know how we're gonna turn this around, E-Man?
I'm a little worried by your answer.
We've got a gentleman. You can see a photo of him right here. Oh, please tell me that they have the video in this article. Oh, I don't want photos. I want the video.
Is that like Miss
Fucker.
Mata or something?
Uh, this is the Navy's
Oh
new
my.
digital ambassador.
Well, it's the Navy, so we can kind of like you can't say this was completely unexpected. I mean, if you're trying,
Yeah, I didn't think it would ever get this bad. Now, this gentleman, according to the government, was a part of the team that took out Osama bin Laden, if not the man that fired the fatal shots himself. And we have a quote from him. I can't believe I fought for this bullshit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the divide for America is going to grow ever increasing. 1%
I
of the
just,
country.
hey,
1%.
E-Man, I know it's a complicated situation over there in Ukraine. Doesn't this just make you want to sign up? I mean, look at that obviously male face right there. I mean, the cheekbones, the broad shoulders.
That's a body that Navy sailors write home about.
I mean,
But
that's something. I met a girl on the boat, and she changed my life.
I had some sex
Your parents frantically write to you,
Hold
and
on.
they're like, "Hey, look at the Adam's apple on that thing." It tried to paint it away. Look at that. That thing's like Big Mike, dude. That's a linebacker.
All I'm saying is, if you want the if you want my honest opinion on LGBTQ in the military, I'm going to share a quote from a Marine that changed my perspective, and it's why I'm not freaking out over sailors seeing this. Because what do you think sailors do? I mean, you're on the submarine. What are you gonna do? Anyways,
People
what is
what is it? People
told,
got urges.
I've been
They
told
got sexual desires, right?
I was told by a Marine who served this country faithfully that if you respect the Marine Corps or the armed forces as an institution, you need to allow whatever the fucks into the military. However, I don't think you should change the military culture to appease people who may not love penis or vagina. I'm just saying, as a country, we need a strong military. We need a strong military culture. Maybe an accepting military is possible. Maybe it's not. I just think submitting to progressives and trying to change the military's effective parts of its culture as some kind of experiment is only going to be damaging in the long term. We already are at an all-time low in people wanting to join because they know what to expect. We're at an all-time low people who are capable of serving because our military, our total health of a country is at an all-time low. Our mental health as a country as an all-time low. So if we do manage to get someone fit enough to send overseas, they're going to probably cause a massacre. The last thing I think that an indecisive 16-year-old who had their whole life ahead of them, who wants to do their patriotic duty to their country, needs to see is a fucking drag queen.
I mean, I don't see how this assists recruitment in any way at all. I guess if somebody wants to do this in their own private time, I guess that's okay. But honestly, I mean,
It's
here's your
it's
fella
solving
right
a problem
here.
with a hammer that didn't even need a nail, you know?
It's. I think that it worsens the problem.
That's what I mean. If solving a problem, quote
Exactly.
unquote,
Like
hammer that didn't even need a nail.
it just it boggles the mind why you would do something like this. But by the way, I hope that encouraged you to join the military, because baby, 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 the war expands. U.S. troops are gonna stay in Sudan.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, motherfucker. We are fighting terror across the world. Oh yeah. We're evacuating civilians and I guess killing the Sudanese, because shit, we are not leaving, my friends. Oh no.
I remember complaining about this bullshit and this stupid ass dichotomy of support the troops or bring the troops home. How about both? How about we do both?
Exactly. That's what Dr. Ron Paul used to say, was why can't we do both?
I mean, it's not America's responsibility to be world police, and anyone that believes that lie that it is drinking too much Kool-Aid from World War II.
Holy fucking shit, man. I think I was in middle school when the Sudan stuff happened with North and South Sudan.
And they split? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and like this was a big story. This was a brutal fucking conflict.
It is.
I mean,
But I
this
think
really, in
America
terms of casualties, is probably gonna fucking surpass the Ukraine war. From what I recall from last time, this is gonna be a fucking shit show. Why would you leave U.S. personnel in said shit show? I mean, seriously, what the fuck is going on here?
look,
Sudan's rich with natural resources. Are we gonna fight another fucking war for oil?
yes, that's what we're going to do until we have anyone who gives a shit actually get into office and actually make some serious changes. I love the things the politicians say. I love it because right before election, they say the perfect things that really genuinely mean something that will never be enacted. Drain the swamp. Swamp's still it's overflowing now.
Never really even made a fucking attempt to drain the swamp. I mean, that fella, he hired the swamp.
He
And
hired a new swamp and a big.
he didn't even hire a new swamp, man. He hired the old swamp. He took Henry Kissinger, who was fucking like 98 years old at the time, and he put him back in a fucking advisory role.
And he
Like,
made Vince McMahon's wife. What did he do? He made Vince McMahon's wife.
oh, she did do something. I can't remember what she did, but I mean, like, I wouldn't necessarily call that a new swamp. I'd just
He
say that
expanded
he picked the wrong fucking people.
But is there
And
anyone who could really?
there's no denying that.
I mean, I think that in terms of checks and balances, we fucked up right now. We're fucked up.
We're not. We don't have checks and balances anymore. I mean, the
Yeah,
Biden administration. You see it with the abortion pill thing, man. You know, a federal court blocks the abortion pill. Of course, the Supreme Court's going to turn around and go, "You don't have the fucking authority to do that to begin with." But like they block access to an abortion pill. And Joey was openly saying his administration was just not going to follow the SCOTUS ruling on that. We don't have checks and balances anymore. We just don't. We barely have a country at this point. But
honestly, we're becoming more federal
and so
feudalistic as the days go
Joey
on.
has set the precedent that we don't have to follow SCOTUS rulings if we disagree with them. I want the next Republican that gets in there to turn around and just go, I've nullified all gun control laws. Don't listen to the Supreme Court. I don't fucking care.
That would be pretty amazing. But imagine, I mean, that's borderline purge level. But like, who cares? That's where we are at already. That Chicago's already doing the purge. They released.
And you see that guy in New York City where the fucking homeless guy was talking about fucking killing everybody on the train? And it was a former Marine. And he puts the fella in a chokehold. And we have another fentanyl Floyd where the guy dies. And you have AOC out there calling this guy a murderer and saying that he lynched this guy on a subway train. There were two black fellas helping to hold the guy down. I mean, clearly something was fucking going on where pretty much everybody on the train was like, shit, I mean, he lives, he lives.
I don't understand AOC. I don't.
Fucking
I get
retarded.
it.
She controlled opposition is really what it boils down to. I mean,
Well, hold on.
AOC is
Let me just say this. I don't understand AOC because she works. She's a personality that works. For the American mind, they're like, this is a good guy because she says, oh, I'm all about environment and like thinking really hard about doing good things. And it's the most obtuse, transparent. Like, when I say evil because it's not it's not so much that I think the AOC has anything especially malicious about her agenda or she's like eating babies or something. No, it's the fact that she knows the kind of fucking brain dead American that will fucking eat up her good girl fucking Wonder Woman persona. That's what they see her. They see her as a celebrity and Wonder Woman. She wears a fucking suit. See if you can look it up. That to the Met Gala, which every year I hear
oh
about.
my god, the dress that she wore there that was like fucking $30,000
Hear
and
about
it was
some controversy about the Met Gala, and there's no easier way to understand the way these sycophant parasites that run our country operate than looking at how they dress fancy for each other.
exactly, man. I mean, they said, what was it that John Lennon said in that song before he was murdered? You're all 666 sucking each other's dicks. Like,
That sounds like a metal song.
dude,
Either like,
it's a great song. It's called "We the People" or "Free the People." That's what it is. Free the People.
but
F
I don't
R
want to
E
delve
D
into
A.
like anything esoteric. I want to be as concrete as possible. I despise the fact that AOC is just able to coast on the merit of her natural beauty, her natural linguistic talent, and doesn't have to actually try to change anything to be successful. Like she's not
Shit,
trying
man,
to.
I've had 5 beers already, and I'll tell you what, I don't find AOC beautiful after 5 beers. So I guess
I
it
mean,
takes
she
on a
was a
12
bartender,
pack.
but
I
I don't
mean, she was a
doubt.
bartender, so I guess, yeah, she probably got a pretty high body count from people who've had more than 12.
Look, a woman's value isn't what she can do for you physically or whatever. It's a woman's value is the same as a man's value. It's what they add to this world.
But do you remember when AOC came out and
I
she was
remember her
like
Green New Deal.
scared of the fucking cops after January 6th, and she was like, oh, I heard him aggressively knock on the door, and he was going, where is she? Where is she? And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, lady.
She hasn't had a gun to the
She
back
was
of her head.
fucking blocks away from where the breach was. I guess the story like took place an hour or so before the breach. It just fucked up. There was that time she got arrested at the protest too, and she like tried to make it look like she was handcuffed like a real rebel.
Oh my god, that's it's this performative activism. That's everything in this country.
Well,
And you see it on the right and you see it on the left. It's just the
you
left gloats about it, but the right, they just are smug about it. Like
your
performative
biggest
activism is the greatest plague that I think is going to bring down anything that's going to make any serious difference for our people as a country.
well, And so to get into that, I mean, if you remember when the young people really did rally around a cause for the last time, and it was a plurality of young people, both on the right and the left, it was Occupy Wall Street. And what do you see? They injected racial politics dramatically. Y'all can look it up. There's ways to check like the mentions and shit on the internet. They injected racial politics into almost every fucking article
Because
that
you
like
don't
New
want
York
bombers.
Times or Newsweek or all these fucking bullshit Washington Post, them motherfuckers, they injected it into everything, and then you saw this type of unity that these people had absolutely fucking evaporate. When I talk to the average person on the street, and this goes for like, the incredibly left-wing area where we grew up, to, up here, the average person, irrespective of their political beliefs, believes that people have the right to defend themselves. Does not believe that we should go, which, like, when we talk about, like, oh, we're going to ban assault weapons. Well, like, people outright say now that they should go door to door and seize people's firearms.
The person that's going to seize your firearms, sorry to interrupt any power fantasies, the person that going to seize your firearms is going to be your local police officer or sheriff.
Exactly, man.
Well, we're back after a brief intermission. We're just going to share some final thoughts, give you a hint of things to come in the next episode of New England Free Radio and Radio Free New England, whichever one you prefer. And let's give it a head start by my main man from Maine, Midnight.
Future. We're going to have some more interesting news picks. Obviously, this was more or less of a trial run, but I'd like to thank you all for viewing Free Radio New England or Radio Free New England, whichever you choose. And I hope that God smiles upon you and brings many blessings in your future. God bless you all.
Well, it's a the Royal International tune. The real big tune, $1 billion wanted. With original of Jode, Jara, alongside Terry Ganzi, Easy African, original Jolly Shot the Icon Sessa. Bim, 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 hear that. Yeah. Whoa. They got a price on my head, saying they want me dead, but I won't be the hunted. Rastafari knows they wanna take my bread, but blood will run red, 'cause I won't be the hunted. Rastafari knows they got a price on my head, saying they want me dead, but I won't be the hunted. Rastafari knows they wanna take my bread, but blood will run red, 'cause I won't be the hunted. Lord knows, aim in an eye and can't see, only to shoot themselves in the knee. I'm wanted dead, 'cause I'm free, wasn't born a slave, never intended to be. So they better watch what they say. On to Jah I will pray, to Jah I will pray, and all the wicked get slain. They got a price on my head, saying they want me dead, but I won't be the hunted. Rastafari knows they wanna take my bread, but blood will run red, 'cause I won't be the hunted. Rastafari knows
they got a price on me. I'm still in this life. Still, y'all can see him when they grinning and gripping they pipes on me. You know Frank was the low man, Tony was the boss with the drought tag corner where we hustle till it's gone. Yeah, banging my goose, but we burying my wood. Everybody know Twin, I'm legendary in the hood. Yeah, we just buried that boy. I hear his mom cry. Now I understand Jay and why he made this song cry. You gon' wait for me to come back, mom? Stand right here. God willing, I'ma be right there. I got plans to live a better life. The God bless the rude boy who come for me in the heat of the night. My mom said your mans ain't friends and you can never trust a nigga. You always gotta be your buddy's niggas. I show love, but where the love at? It's like niggas never really miss the hood till they never get to come
They
back.
got a price on my head, saying they want me dead, but I won't be hunted. Rastafari knows they wanna take my breath, but blood will run red, 'cause I won't be hunted. Rastafari knows. So long riding my saddle, coming after me, the old cavalry, men's in uniform of brutality, cause I'm an outlaw. Kansas City, Colorado, through Texas, Mississippi, California, through Vegas. Behind the dusty trail, I can see the posse coming for the reward on my head.
Yeah, they got a price on a kid. They got the rights to leave a big homie dead. They ain't right, they know exactly where I live. They got my cell and a number to the crib. So what am I to do? Team up with a crew. Youngest to the oldest, each one got a tool. So when the storm comes, we do what we do. Recite scriptures, mainly songs. Then welcome all war with the burners in our palms. From the being of Jamaica, Jamaica back home. Chrome be the model, think about it. Where you from? You'll see drugs and thugs, solicitation. Slums with guns, with visitation. Come slim, gotta have a pass from your man. 'Cause if you stand with no pass, you'll get jacked, maybe bland. Real talk, nightly hit a still bark. Nigga, I'm a real dog, but hate the fact there's a price on my wig,
They got a
y'all.
price on my head, saying they want me dead, but I won't live. Be hunted. Rastafari knows they wanna take my breath, but blood will run red, 'cause I won't be hunted. Rastafari knows. Big up, Louis. What's up, Louis? What's up, Louis? Yeah. Outlaw up in the house, Derek Gangs in the drought. Harv up in the building, bout a mess. You know what I'm saying? Big up Della. Metal Pair, Roxbury, Dorchester. Yeah, 3 for the stripes, BMA.